Today I'm going to start laying a foundation for two worlds that I've been straddling in my videos lately. The first being building a platform, being able to show up as yourself and build a business that allows you to serve the world, help people, and be philanthropic ultimately. And then on the other hand is a system that I teach called the Gene Keys. And this video is going to be a little more heavily in the Gene Keys world, but I want to start seeing how these two come together. Because ultimately, this system is what helps me understand who I am and how I am meant to engage and interact with the world and what I'm best suited to do. And then once I understand that, I can use it to build this platform. And proof of this is me here. This video is unscripted. It's going to be one take. It's me showing up as myself to provide value so that I can magnetize the right people to me. So all that said, hopefully we get a grasp on how things are going to start coming together. And if you're along for the journey, I'm sorry if it feels a little separate right now, but I promise, follow me and we're going to end up in the same zone here. So as I said, today is actually episode 9 of a series that I've been doing called the Golden Path Spheres series. And today we're going to talk about a sphere called your core. And the core is something that is deep, deep, deep inside of us. Another name for this is called the sacred wound. So part of showing up authentically, being able to do this without, all these big giant systems and needing the flashy website and all of this kind of stuff, is understanding who and what you are at the center of your being and that thing is inherently valuable. And the reality is that there is some sacredness to you. There is something inside. The Greeks would call it your genius, or your dharma is another word for it, that you are uniquely qualified to share with the world. And it is this thing that gets cloaked in all sorts of conditioning from the outer world. And we start to take on more and more, thinking that we need to take in this new knowledge, this new information to be able to shine ourselves out into the world. But in reality, we're just further and further covering the inner essence that is us. And so the sacred wound is something that happens because of one word, which is separation. So at a certain point, before we come to this planet, we are in this sense of unity, this sense of oneness, this sense of knowing God, of knowing a universal love principle that penetrates all things. And when we are born, we get ripped out of that sense of oneness and we get to a land of duality. And this land of duality makes us constantly have judgments about right or wrong, this or that. It has opinions around, you need to do it this way because this is what my life experience has led me to see and believe. But the reality is, with duality, both are always true. If you look at any scientific study, for example, a study on fasting, you will find evidence that fasting harms your metabolic health. Then you can look in another journal and a different study, and you will find something that says fasting is one of the best things out there for your metabolic health. How is that possible? Because they're seeing it through different lenses. There's different information sets. And that's the trick with this duality that we live in. We've got to find a way to be able to transcend that duality. And it's always a process. And it oftentimes what happens is we identify with one or the other. We feel a sense of pain in that identification. It breaks it and allows us to get a wider view. So this sacred wound or core wound is actually laid down in the womb. That's important to know. So this is not anything that happened to you over the course of your life. This is just a part of the human condition. There's no one to blame. I don't know if you've noticed, but just about everyone that I talk to goes through some degree of suffering. And everyone's suffering is a little bit different, but we all get it. And we all learn some hard lessons. And what we strive to remember is that every shadow contains a gift, meaning that that lesson is there it comes as like a packet of karma. This situation gets delivered to me and explodes in my life. And I think it's going to be this big, messy process. And oftentimes it is. But as we unpack all of that emotion and all of that thought and all of that stuff that got dropped into our life, we start to see the reason that it happened if we can maintain our frequency. That's the thing. So often these situations drop in our life and we immediately go into the victim mindset. We immediately go into the woe is me, why did this happen? And look, for those of you that are here for more of the business side of things, the moment that you flip into that victim mindset is the moment that fear takes over, is the moment that you start doing things reaching for money, reaching to try and get out of the pain. I did this just a few months ago and all of you felt it and you told me directly, you told me by not engaging with me. And so I had to do the work of unpacking this lesson so that I could stay more stable when these things happen. So don't blame your parents. Don't blame anything other than the fact that we're here to grow and learn and develop over time. Each time that we are here, our soul begins to burn a little bit brighter as we learn these lessons. So the sacred wound actually has 6 different expressions. So the first expression is separation. And these tie to the lines. If you're familiar with the gene key system, you'll see, like, for example, my core wound is 56.1. So this 56 is the gene key, the 1 is the line. And so this gene key is distraction, enrichment, intoxication. And the first line here, this is what I'm going to talk about, what it represents. So even though there are 64 potential gene keys, there's only 6 of these different expressions of this wound. And then the gene key kind of flavors that expression a bit. So first is separation. And this happens because a 6-line energy is the visionary. It's holding the potential future. And they tend to be able to see the big picture. And because they see the big picture, I'm talking about myself right now. I have 6 lines everywhere. You tend to put yourself up on a pedestal and you get preachy. And you're looking down on all these people thinking, why don't they understand? Why don't they get it? And of course, as somebody that is not up there, it doesn't feel good for someone to be looking down and thinking and saying those things. It doesn't feel good for me, the person up on the roof, it's called, is the language we use, as like the separate person with the bird's eye view. The key is, how can we integrate? How can we see those things, but do it from a place where we're walking among the world? It's okay if you need to pull back sometimes and separate yourself and find your heart and remember your vision, but then we've got to plug back into the world. The next is guilt. So guilt, this is collective guilt. This is the guilt of humanity, of being a human. So the wars that we cannot seem to stop starting. Famine and hunger and people dying because they don't have food, homelessness, all the things, genocide, that we look back at our collective past and we think, how could we do this? How could we harm people so much? How could we harm the world so much? And so we start to take on this deep sense of collective guilt, like humanity is bad. And the weight of that can feel really, really heavy because we have indeed caused a lot of suffering in the world. I'm going to tell you how to get to the other side of that here in just a little bit. Next is rejection. So this is the wound of putting yourself out there, wanting to be there for somebody, and you're not welcomed. Or maybe you were a little bit different when you were a kid and you dressed a certain way. Like my kid's got purple hair and wears like big Jenko jeans and all of that kind of stuff. And it's a little more accepted now, although she's definitely on the outskirts. And when you show up, somebody makes fun of you or makes you feel less than. And we internalize that sense of rejection. And what starts to happen is we start preemptively striking. We start rejecting other people before they have a chance to reject us. And then we wonder why, we feel iced out of situations all the time. But in reality, it's because you had the walls up, because you were in fear of rejection yourself. Then we've got the wound of shame. So shame, this is more personal in nature. So unlike guilt, this is more I am bad. I have done bad things in the world and I have all this evidence and all these people sometimes telling me that I am bad and I don't deserve X, Y, and Z, or I shouldn't have done this thing or whatever it is. So it's this sense that you just can't get it right. And when we feel that way, we're constantly running from thing to thing to thing because we don't want to face that feeling. We don't just want to look at ourselves in the deep, deep core and realize we don't want to face that badness that we feel. But the truth is, and the shame is, no pun intended, that if you were to turn towards that, you would see the illusion of it. You would remember what you really are. But you're not willing to slow down enough and stop running in order to make that thing happen. So then we've got the wound of denial. So this is a blindness. It's an anger, honestly. It's a rage. It's your fault. We're constantly pointing the finger at another because we can't be what's wrong. And denial is tricky because you can't see what you can't see. And so it involves making sure that you have a lot of mirrors around you. The other place with denial here is maybe you're denying this whole thing, right? The sacred wound, the fact that you have a soul, maybe you're just strictly living in the land of the five senses. And I can personally tell you from experience that you're denying something that will change your life and will open you to things that are miraculous and that will give you opportunities to serve and grow in ways that you could never imagine on your own. And then finally, we get to the first wound, which is the wound of repression. And when I say, I think you can see these, if not, sorry, I'm saying them out loud anyway. Repression here is a repression of fear. It's a repression of a fear of dying, ultimately. It's an inability to face the fact that we can't create external safety in our lives because anything could happen at any moment. We can create internal safety. We must create internal safety. But anything could happen. Driving, flying, illness, you name it. And so the first line is about shoving that down so that we don't have to face the fear. And then what we end up doing is running around like a chicken with our head cut off so that we don't have to feel it. We'll do anything but face this deep, deep thing that's inside of us. And if you don't believe that it's there, just sit down by yourself in a room, no screens, no music for 5 minutes. You're going to start to feel it. You're going to start to notice what's going on. So the good news is we can heal these things. And even better news, we aren't the ones that really have to do much other than start to develop our faith and trust. Start to show up in the world in a way that we believe, we know that we're safe and we're supported. If you can embody that, your world is going to start to change, as mine is literally shifting during the course of this video. It's not this video, but this month, let's say. It's absolutely wild. It's wild to watch. Okay, so I want to talk about how to heal these things, because it comes from, it's a moment of grace that heals it. It's a divine presence that allows these things to be let go of. And it takes pausing, contemplating, openness, but really it's just a willingness to allow these things to come into your world. So the way that we heal repression is with this energy of divine will. Remember, this is about this underlying fear that anything is going up, that everything could fall apart. We could disappear at any moment. Divine will is remembering that you're not the one in control. The shadow state of divine will, the opposite of it, is exhaustion. And it comes because you don't believe that there's nothing for you to do, that there's something else that is looking out for you. The way that we heal denial is with this divine energy, I'm going to spell this wrong, but that's okay, of omniscience. Omniscience, being everywhere at all times, being able to see it all. If we see it all, if we really and truly see, we're not in denial anymore. It's been illuminated for us. We know what is happening. This third line wound of shame, and all of this, P.S., is available to you in the 22nd gene key. So if you have the book and you want to see where I'm getting this stuff, it's all in the 22nd gene key. You can read about it on a much deeper level. So the way that we heal shame is with love, specifically with universal love. So this is not relational love. This is not human love. This is God's love. And when you feel God's love, your life is forever different. From that moment on, it's about grounding that frequency into you, because we have moments that we notice it and then moments that it goes away in the beginning. But eventually, my understanding is that it gets completely stabilized. And I say understanding because this is a process for me too. Things are shifting and changing in real time. It's so cool. It's so cool that I get this experience. This fourth line wound of rejection is healed with the energy of epiphany. So this one can be helpful to think about it from the opposite end of the spectrum, which is deafness, an inability to hear yourself, an inability to hear the world. And when we are able to turn towards that deafness and understand what it has to offer to us, what it offers is insight. What it offers is an understanding from within, this bubbling up from somewhere. We don't quite know where, right? Things just pop into our awareness sometimes. And that insight leads eventually to an epiphany, this breakthrough moment that I cannot be rejected because I am you and you are me. And that is a moment that is beautiful and will, again, change everything. All right, this next one, guilt is healed via forgiveness, is the divine energy. It's me forgiving you, you forgiving yourself, groups of people forgiving other groups of people. Only then can we let go of this guilt. And I want to talk about this word forgiveness. Forgive. To give before something happens, for no reason, without any impetus, to offer forgiveness. And finally, this sixth line wound of separation, I'll put this one right up above, is healed by truth. So what I mean by separation here is a difference between the world and you, right? We put ourselves in this box like we're separate from everything that happens, but every action that I take affects my partner and my daughter. Every time I get in my car, it affects the environment. Every choice that I make affects so many different things around my sphere, and those effects ripple out. And what we're feeling now are those ripples from choices that people made tens, hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of years ago. And so when we see that truth, when we see that we are one thing, when we see that we are just trying our best, all of us, that we're all just living out the mechanics of this core wound, I can have this sense of empathy. I can have this understanding. I can start to see with eyes of lucidity and eyes of love. It gives me the ability to return non-love with love, which is one of the most important things to be able to do when you are building a platform, because you best believe, especially in the environment that we're in right now, people are going to draw arrows. People are going to start shooting at you. And so we've got to learn to see the core wound that's driving that, and to not take it on board, and to not know that you're bad or that you did something wrong, or none of that. So hopefully this was helpful today. This is the part of the video where I'm supposed to tell you, if this was valuable, you should do something with me. It'll be great. And it will be, and I think I can help. I know I can help, but I don't like that. Like, look, you should do this. If it rings true for you, do it with me. I'll just leave that there. Thank you for being here. I'm going to do some more of these kind of bridge videos. I promise this is going to come together. Stick with the journey. We're going somewhere cool. All right, guys, lots of love. Till next time.